Jake Thompson was the kind of guy who believed in love stories that unfolded like a perfectly scripted movie. At 32 years old, he had dedicated himself to both his career and his relationship with Sarah, a vibrant woman he met 2 years earlier at a mutual friend's wedding. From the moment their eyes locked across the crowded room, Jake felt an undeniable spark. Sarah, with her infectious laughter and warm smile, had a way of lighting up any space she entered, and Jake was powerless to resist her charm. As he navigated the bustling corridors of the marketing firm where they both worked, Jake often found himself daydreaming about their future together. He envisioned intimate dinners, spontaneous road trips, and late-night talks that stretched into the early hours of the morning. Even more vividly, he imagined the moment he would drop to one knee, ring in hand, asking Sarah to be his partner for life. It was a dream he had nurtured for months, and now, as he approached what he had planned to be the most significant day of his life, excitement bubbled within him. In preparation for the proposal, Jake had meticulously crafted every detail. He envisioned a romantic evening at their favorite restaurant, a quaint little Italian place adorned with flickering candles and soft music playing in the background. He pictured himself whispering sweet words as he revealed the sparkling ring nestled in its velvet box, a family heirloom that had belonged to his grandmother. He knew it was perfect for Sarah. She often mentioned how much she admired vintage jewelry. In those moments leading up to the proposal, Jake felt like he was floating on air, buoyed by dreams of a shared future filled with love and happiness. However, Jake's idealism extended beyond just the romantic gestures. It seeped into how he viewed relationships in general. He believed in transparency and honesty above all else. His parents had modeled this for him throughout his childhood. They had weathered storms together without secrets or deceit. Thus, Jake expected nothing less from his own relationship with Sarah. He thought they shared an unbreakable bond rooted in trust and mutual respect. After all, they had spent countless hours discussing their dreams and fears. As he counted down the days to his planned proposal, Jake found himself increasingly enamored with thoughts of Sarah. He pictured her reaction, the look of joy that would light up her face as she realized they were taking a monumental step together. Each conversation they shared only intensified his conviction that she was the one. Friends noticed the change in him too. He exuded confidence and optimism as he spoke about their future plans. Yet amidst his excitement lay an undercurrent of anxiety that Jake couldn't quite shake off. He couldn't ignore that nagging feeling that something was amiss, though he dismissed it each time it surfaced. Maybe it was simply pre-proposal jitters. After all, marriage was a big commitment, one that could change everything. But deep down, Jake felt assured that their love was strong enough to withstand any challenges that might arise. As the day of the proposal approached, Jake prepared to share his heart with Sarah in a way he hoped would solidify their bond forever. In his mind's eye, he could see them growing old together, sharing stories with their children about how they fell in love over pasta and wine on that fateful night when he proposed. Little did Jake know that beneath this idyllic surface lay secrets poised to unravel his perfect plan entirely. A shocking revelation awaited him, one that would shatter not only his dreams of marriage but also challenge everything he thought he knew about trust and love. But for now, as Jake walked through the office hallways filled with chatter and laughter from colleagues around him, all he could think about was Sarah's smile and how soon they would begin their journey together as a couple committed for life. With every step toward their dinner reservation later that evening, hope surged within him, a hope that soon would be confronted by an unexpected truth that would alter the course of his life forever. Jake had spent countless hours perfecting his proposal plan, wanting everything to be just right for the woman he adored. The days leading up to the big moment were filled with excitement and a touch of nervous anticipation. He felt like a kid waiting for Christmas morning, eager to unwrap the joys that lay ahead. After all, this proposal marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, one he hoped would lead them down the aisle. The setting was key to Jake's vision. He had chosen their favorite Italian restaurant, Bella Notte, a cozy spot known for its intimate atmosphere and delicious cuisine. With its dim lighting, soft music, and charming decor, it was the perfect backdrop for such a monumental occasion. Jake had made reservations well in advance, ensuring they would have a secluded table in the corner away from prying eyes. He wanted this moment to be theirs alone, an experience wrapped in privacy and warmth. As he walked into Bella Notte on the evening of his planned proposal, Jake took a moment to soak in the ambience, the aroma of freshly baked bread wafting through the air, the gentle clinking of glasses, and the laughter of couples sharing stories over candlelit tables. Each detail heightened his excitement. He could already picture Sarah walking through the door, her eyes lighting up as she took in the romantic setting he had orchestrated just for them. Jake's heart raced as he thought about the ring he had chosen, a stunning vintage piece that sparkled with an elegance that matched Sarah's personality perfectly. The ring featured a delicate halo of diamonds surrounding an exquisite oval-cut center stone. When Jake had first seen it at a local jeweler's shop, he knew instantly it was meant for her. The thought of slipping it onto her finger filled him with joy. It was not just a piece of jewelry but a symbol of their love and commitment, a promise for a beautiful future together. In preparation for this special night, Jake had even written a heartfelt speech that he rehearsed repeatedly in front of his mirror. He wanted to express how much Sarah meant to him and how she had transformed his life since they met. He planned to share memories of their time together, their first date spent laughing over shared plates of pasta, their late-night talks about dreams and aspirations, and those little moments that made everyday life feel extraordinary. All these memories formed a tapestry of love that he was eager to weave into his proposal. He imagined Sarah's face lighting up as he spoke those words, how she would be overwhelmed with happiness when he asked her to be his partner forever. It was this vision that propelled him forward, every detail meticulously crafted to create an unforgettable experience. As the evening progressed, Jake found himself anxiously checking his watch more than once, counting down the minutes until Sarah would arrive. He couldn't help but smile when he thought about how they would look back on this night as one of the most significant moments of their lives, a story they would tell their children someday. Finally, when Sarah walked through the door wearing that lovely blue dress that hugged her figure perfectly, Jake felt his heart skip a beat. She looked radiant, her hair cascading in soft waves around her shoulders. As she spotted him across the room, her face broke into a smile that melted away any lingering nerves he had. "Hey there. Sorry I'm late," she said with a playful grin as she approached their table. "No problem at all," Jake replied, trying to keep his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside him. "I'm just glad you're here." They settled into their meal, enjoying each other's company amidst laughter and shared stories, just like they always did. But tonight was different. Tonight held an unspoken promise that lingered in the air between them. As they finished their entrees and moved on to dessert, a decadent chocolate cake topped with fresh strawberries, Jake felt his stomach flutter with anticipation. The moment was drawing near. Soon, he would take out the ring and ask Sarah to spend forever with him. With each passing second, his excitement only grew stronger as he envisioned all the possibilities that awaited them, a future filled with love, adventure, and shared dreams. Little did he know that while he was preparing to open one door to happiness, another door was about to swing wide open, revealing truths that would shatter everything he believed about love and trust in an instant. In the days leading up to the proposal, Jake found himself buoyed by an exhilarating mixture of excitement and nerves. The anticipation was palpable, and he wanted to share his joy with his closest friends. They had been privy to his plans, eagerly offering advice and sharing their own stories of love and commitment, all of which only heightened his enthusiasm. One evening, Jake gathered with a few buddies at a popular local bar, a laid-back place with dim lighting and an inviting atmosphere. As they settled into a booth, he could feel the energy in the room buzzing around him, filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. It was the perfect backdrop for what he hoped would be an unforgettable night of camaraderie and support. "All right, Jake," his friend Mike started, a playful glint in his eye. "You've been planning this proposal for months. Spill the details. How are you going to pop the question?" Jake leaned back, a grin spreading across his face as he began to recount his meticulously crafted plan. He described Bella Nate, the romantic restaurant where everything would unfold, painting vivid pictures of flickering candles and soft melodies. His friends leaned in closer, captivated by the imagery he created. "You're really going all out," said Lisa, another friend who had just recently gotten engaged herself. "I love that you're putting so much thought into it. It's going to be perfect." Encouraged by their enthusiasm, Jake shared more about the ring, how it sparkled like a star against the backdrop of the velvet box, and about the heartfelt speech he planned to deliver when the moment came. He could see their faces light up as he spoke about Sarah's reaction, imagining her delight when she realized what was happening. "Man, I remember when I proposed to Emily," Mike chimed in with nostalgia. "I was so nervous. I nearly dropped the ring in a fountain while I was trying to get down on one knee." The group erupted into laughter at that memory, but Mike continued, growing more serious. "But you know what? In that moment, everything else faded away. It was just me and her, nothing else mattered." Jake nodded thoughtfully, appreciating how those stories resonated with him. It reminded him that love wasn't just about grand gestures, it was also about connection and vulnerability. "And don't forget," Lisa interjected playfully, "it's not just about how you ask her, but also how you make her feel leading up to it. Make sure she knows just how special she is." Her words struck a chord within him as he reflected on how much Sarah meant to him. He wanted this night not only to be memorable but also to reflect their unique bond, the laughter they shared, the support they offered each other during tough times, and the dreams they had for their future. The conversation flowed seamlessly from there as they reminisced about relationships past and present. Each story revealed more about love's complexities, the joy of connection intertwined with the challenges that come with deep intimacy. Yet no matter how different their experiences were, one theme remained constant. Genuine love required effort and understanding. As Jake listened intently, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Each tale of romance added layers to his anticipation. It was as if each story fueled his desire to create a moment that would stand out among them, a story worth telling for years to come. Later that night, as they wrapped up their gathering and said their goodbyes, Jake walked home under a blanket of stars twinkling overhead. He couldn't help but smile as he thought about what lay ahead. The idea that soon he would be asking Sarah to marry him filled him with warmth and excitement. In those quiet moments walking home, Jake envisioned Sarah's smile lighting up her face when he finally asked her to be his forever partner. He felt confident that their relationship was built on a solid foundation of trust and understanding, a belief that had grown stronger through shared experiences. Yet even as hope surged within him, Jake couldn't shake a subtle hint of uncertainty. Was everything truly perfect? Would this night unfold exactly as he had planned? Little did he know that in just a few short hours everything would change dramatically, revealing truths that would challenge everything he believed about love and commitment. With each step leading him closer to Bella Nate and his proposal plans set in motion, Jake felt ready for what he hoped would be one of the happiest moments of his life, a moment filled with love and promise that would echo through time itself. As the evening approached, Jake's excitement transformed into a whirlwind of emotions. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the city as he made his way to Bella Nate. He could feel adrenaline coursing through his veins, heightened by the anticipation of what lay ahead. Every step felt electric, and he imagined how magical the moment would be when he would finally ask Sarah to be his wife. Jake arrived at the restaurant early to ensure everything was perfect. He greeted the hostess with a smile and was led to their reserved corner table, elegantly adorned with flickering candles and fresh flowers. He took a moment to soak in the romantic ambience, letting it wash over him. This was it, the night he had been dreaming about for months. As he waited for Sarah, Jake couldn't help but replay all the wonderful moments they had shared in his mind. He pictured her laughing at his jokes, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about her dreams, and how she always supported him through thick and thin. They were a team, and tonight was about solidifying that bond in a way that would last a lifetime. Minutes felt like hours as he glanced at his watch repeatedly. Each tick echoed in his mind, amplifying his anticipation. Finally, just as he began to wonder if something had gone awry, Sarah walked through the door. She looked radiant in that blue dress he loved so much, her hair cascading down her shoulders in soft waves. The world around him faded as she approached, and his heart swelled with love. "Jake, sorry I'm late." "Traffic was terrible," she said breathlessly as she slid into the seat across from him. "No worries at all," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady despite the tempest of emotions raging within him. "I'm just glad you're here." As they settled into their evening together, Jake found himself captivated by Sarah's presence. They laughed together over shared memories and exchanged playful banter while enjoying their meal. The atmosphere was filled with warmth and love, a perfect lead-up to what Jake hoped would be a beautiful moment. With dessert finished and their glasses filled with sparkling wine, Jake felt the time had come. He took a deep breath, rehearsing his speech in his mind one last time. Just as he prepared to speak, however, an unexpected tension settled over their table like a sudden chill. "Jake," Sarah said softly, her expression shifting from joy to something more serious. "There's something we need to talk about." His heart sank at the change in her tone, anxiety coiled tightly in his chest. "What is it?" he asked cautiously. "I haven't been completely honest with you," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "There's something important you need to know before we go any further tonight." The room around them seemed to fade into silence as Jake braced himself for whatever revelation was about to unfold. "What are you talking about?" "I am already married," she said quietly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. The words hit Jake like a freight train, shattering everything he had envisioned for this night. His mind raced to comprehend what she was saying, each word reverberating painfully in his ears. "Married? To who?" he managed to stammer out. "Tom," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. The name struck Jake like a bolt of lightning. Tom was not only Sarah's boss but also someone Jake respected deeply in his career. It felt like betrayal on multiple levels, personal and professional, and it left him reeling. "I never meant for it to happen," Sarah continued hurriedly as tears began streaming down her cheeks. Tom and I got married before I met you. It was complicated. Complicated? Jake echoed incredulously, grappling with disbelief and hurt. You didn't think I deserved to know? We've been planning our future together. I thought I could leave it behind, she pleaded desperately. But things changed when I met you. I fell in love with you. I didn't know how to tell you. The weight of her words bore down on him like an anchor dragging him into darkness. Everything they had built together now felt like an illusion, a mirage shimmering just out of reach. Jake stared at her in silence as emotions swirled within him, anger, confusion, heartbreak, but most of all betrayal. How could she hide such a monumental truth? The dreams he had cherished moments before crumbled before his eyes. Why would you do this? He finally blurted out, fighting against tears threatening to spill over. I didn't want to lose you. Sarah cried out, reaching for his hand across the table, but Jake withdrew instinctively. The touch that once ignited warmth now felt cold and foreign. In that moment of painful clarity, everything shifted in Jake's world. The proposal ring nestled safely in his pocket suddenly felt like an anchor weighing him down rather than a symbol of hope for their future together. As the reality of Sarah's revelation sunk in deeper than any wound he'd ever faced before, Jake understood that this night would not end as he had imagined, not even close. The love story he had envisioned was shattered beyond repair. It was now tinged with betrayal and uncertainty, a stark contrast to the dreams that had once burned brightly in his heart. Jake sat in stunned silence, the noise of the bustling restaurant around him fading into a distant hum. His heart raced as he processed Sarah's revelation, each word echoing painfully in his mind. I'm already married. The phrase played on a loop, a haunting reminder of the betrayal he felt coursing through his veins. This wasn't just a revelation about their relationship, it was an emotional earthquake that shook the very foundation of his life. He looked at Sarah, her tear-streaked face a stark contrast to the joy he had envisioned just moments ago. The woman he had planned to propose to, his partner in dreams and aspirations, was tangled in a web of lies that now ensnared both of them. The love he felt for her flickered uncertainly, battling against a rising tide of anger and confusion. Why didn't you tell me? Jake finally managed to ask, his voice trembling with hurt. Why would you keep something like this from me? I thought I could handle it, she replied, desperation lacing her words. I thought I could leave Tom behind and start fresh with you. I didn't want to lose what we had. But her reasoning offered little comfort. Instead, it felt like salt on an open wound. Jake's mind raced as he considered the implications of her marriage, not just for their personal lives but also for his career. Tom was not just Sarah's husband, he was Jake's boss, the man who had mentored him and helped him navigate the complexities of their workplace. The thought of confronting this reality sent waves of nausea through him. What does this mean for us? Jake asked, his heart sinking further. You're married to my boss. How could you think this wouldn't blow up in our faces? I never wanted it to come to this, Sarah said, her voice cracking as she reached for him again, but he pulled back once more, unwilling to let her touch bring comfort when all he felt was betrayal. Jake's thoughts spiraled as he wrestled with conflicting emotions. This wasn't just about love lost, it was about trust shattered and a future that now seemed perilous and uncertain. He could envision the fallout at work, confronting Tom and revealing the truth would not only jeopardize his job but could ruin his career entirely. Jake had worked hard to earn Tom's respect and position within the company, a foundation built on trust that now felt precarious at best. What if Tom finds out? Jake's voice dropped to a whisper, the weight of reality crashing down on him like a tidal wave. What if this ruins everything for me? Sarah's eyes widened in fear as she grasped the gravity of what lay ahead. I don't know, she admitted, her voice barely audible. But I love you. I thought we could figure this out together. The love we have is built on secrets. Jake shot back, frustration boiling over. How can we have a future when your whole life is wrapped up in someone else? You're still tied to Tom. Each revelation felt like daggers piercing his heart deeper. Memories flooded back, moments they had shared that now felt tainted by deceit. Their laughter over dinner dates, their plans for vacations together, all painted with an illusion that was no longer real. Jake stood up abruptly, unable to remain seated any longer. He needed space to breathe away from the suffocating weight of heartbreak that enveloped him. With trembling hands, he ran them through his hair in frustration, feeling utterly lost. Jake, Sarah's voice trailed behind him as he turned away, but he couldn't listen anymore. He needed clarity, he needed time to process what had just happened. He stepped outside into the cool night air where the bustling sounds of the restaurant faded into quiet whispers around him. It felt surreal, the world continued spinning while his life hung precariously in balance. Underneath the stars twinkling overhead, Jake paced back and forth as raw emotions surged within him, anger toward Sarah for hiding such a significant part of her life, confusion about what this meant for their relationship, and a sinking sense of betrayal that made his stomach churn. He imagined confronting Tom, the man whose mentorship had meant so much to him, and how everything would change if he revealed Sarah's secret. Would it destroy their working relationship? Would it ruin any chance Jake had at climbing the corporate ladder? The risks loomed large before him like shadows stretching across an uncertain horizon. As he stood there grappling with these thoughts, caught between love and loyalty, Jake couldn't escape the painful reality that trust was irrevocably broken. The future he had envisioned with Sarah now seemed like a distant dream slipping through his fingers like sand. With every heartbeat echoing in his chest, Jake realized that nothing would ever be the same again, not for him personally or professionally. He would need to confront not only Sarah but also the truths buried within himself about love, trust, and what it meant to truly commit to another person amidst such chaos. In those moments under the night sky filled with stars, Jake understood one thing clearly. Life had thrown him into uncharted territory, and navigating its stormy waters would require more strength than he ever knew he possessed. As Jake stood outside the restaurant grappling with heartbreak, Sarah sat in the dimly lit corner, her heart heavy with conflicting emotions. She felt the sting of tears pooling in her eyes, not just from the pain of betrayal she had caused but from the whirlwind of thoughts and fears that cascaded through her mind. In that moment of solitude, she reflected on her life choices and how they had led her to this tumultuous crossroads. Sarah had met Tom during a pivotal time in her life. Fresh out of college, she was eager to establish herself in the competitive world of marketing. Tom was charismatic and ambitious, a well-respected figure in their industry who took notice of her talent early on. He seemed to offer everything she thought she wanted: stability, influence, and a clear path toward success. Their relationship started as a professional mentorship but gradually morphed into something deeper. Tom was charming, and he made her feel special, admired, like someone who truly understood her aspirations. However, as their romance deepened, so did the complications. Sarah found herself caught in a whirlwind of expectations and pressures that she hadn't anticipated. Tom was 10 years older and established in his career. He was someone people looked up to, and Sarah often felt like she was living in his shadow. As their relationship evolved into marriage, the weight of those expectations intensified. She believed that being with Tom would bring her respectability and security, the very things she thought would fulfill her. Yet beneath the surface of their marriage lay an unsettling truth. Sarah felt trapped. The glamorous image of her life didn't include the reality of feeling confined by the very structure she had thought would bring happiness. The stark difference between their worlds became increasingly apparent. While Jake represented spontaneity and passion, Tom epitomized stability and responsibility. With Jake, there were no pretenses, just laughter and connection that made her heart race. When Sarah first met Jake, it was like a breath of fresh air in an otherwise stifling atmosphere. They bonded over shared interests, spontaneous adventures, and late-night conversations filled with dreams and laughter. With him, she felt liberated, able to be herself without the weight of expectation pressing down on her. Jake brought out a side of her that had long been buried under layers of obligation. But as sparks flew between them, guilt crept in like a shadowy figure lurking at the edges of her happiness. The more she fell for Jake, the heavier the burden became to carry around the truth about Tom. She wrestled with her feelings daily, torn between two worlds, one filled with love and excitement and another that promised safety but suffocated her spirit. As days turned into weeks, Sarah found herself spiraling deeper into emotional turmoil. She loved Jake fiercely but felt bound to Tom through commitments both personal and professional. The longer she kept secrets from Jake, the more it ate away at her conscience. Each stolen moment with him came tinged with guilt, a bittersweet taste that lingered long after they parted ways. The day Jake planned to propose loomed like a double-edged sword. On one hand, she longed for a future with him. On the other hand, she knew that revealing her truth would shatter everything they had built together. Sarah vacillated between wanting to confess everything and wishing desperately for a way out of her predicament without causing harm. At Bella Notte that night, when it became clear that she could no longer keep hiding behind lies, fear gripped Sarah's heart like an iron vice. She felt as though she were standing on the precipice of a great chasm. One step forward meant embracing love with Jake while risking everything else. One step back meant staying trapped in a marriage that had become suffocating. When she finally uttered those words, "I'm already married," it was as if all air had been sucked from the room. Seeing Jake's face transform from joy to shock confirmed what she feared most, that she had lost him before they even began. As tears streamed down her cheeks, Sarah realized that this revelation wasn't just about marriage or relationships, it was about authenticity and vulnerability. She had spent too long living behind masks, first as Tom's wife and then as Jake's girlfriend, searching for acceptance while stifling her own truth. In those moments alone after Jake left, Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of sadness wash over her, a mixture of regret for the pain she caused him and confusion about who she truly was beneath all those layers. She recognized that she needed to confront not only the reality of her choices but also what it meant to truly love someone without deception. As she grappled with these emotions alone in that dimly lit corner of Bella Nate, Sarah knew this moment was pivotal not just for Jake but for herself as well. It was time to face the consequences head-on, to come to terms with who she wanted to be moving forward rather than continue living a life dictated by fear or obligation. The journey ahead would be challenging, but maybe it would also lead to liberation, the chance to reclaim her identity amidst the chaos of intertwined lives and complicated truths. The next morning, Jake awoke with a heavy heart, the events of the previous night replaying in a relentless loop in his mind. He stared blankly at the ceiling, struggling to come to terms with the whirlwind that had upended his life. The revelation that Sarah was married to Tom, his boss, wasn't just a personal crisis, it was a professional one as well, and the implications weighed heavily on him. As he prepared for work, Jake felt a sense of dread settling in. He had respected Tom not only as a mentor but also as a friend. The man had taken him under his wing, helping him navigate the complexities of the corporate world. Tom had provided guidance when Jake was uncertain and had always been supportive of his career aspirations. Now that dynamic felt irrevocably shattered. Arriving at the office, Jake walked through the familiar halls where he had spent countless hours working hard to prove himself. But today everything felt different. The air was thick with unease, and he sensed that his colleagues were oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface of his composed exterior. Each step toward his desk felt like wading through molasses, and all he could think about was how to confront Tom without igniting an explosion of consequences. Jake sat at his desk, staring at his computer screen but unable to focus on the tasks at hand. His mind raced with questions. How would he address the elephant in the room? Would he confront Tom directly? Or would he keep quiet and risk being swept into a web of office politics? The thought of maintaining professionalism while grappling with such personal turmoil felt overwhelming. As morning turned to afternoon, Jake knew he couldn't avoid Tom forever. Their weekly check-in was approaching, a time for them to discuss ongoing projects and Jake's progress within the company. Normally, these meetings were a highlight for him, but now they loomed like a dark cloud overhead. When Tom finally entered Jake's office, he wore his usual confident demeanor, a stark contrast to Jake's inner turmoil. "Hey, Jake. Good to see you," Tom said cheerfully, unaware of the tension hanging between them. "Yeah, you too," Jake replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than genuine warmth. Tom settled into the chair across from him, flipping through notes as they began their discussion about ongoing projects and deadlines. But Jake found it increasingly difficult to concentrate on business matters. He could feel each minute ticking by like an eternity, and every word out of Tom's mouth felt laced with unspoken tension. Finally, after what felt like an agonizingly long conversation about quarterly goals, Jake's resolve snapped. "Tom," he said abruptly, summoning every ounce of courage within him. "We need to talk about something important." Tom looked up from his notes, his expression shifting slightly as he sensed the gravity in Jake's tone. "Sure, what's on your mind?" About Sarah, Jake began hesitantly before launching into the truth that had weighed heavily on him since last night. "I know she's your wife." The words hung in the air between them like an uninvited guest. Tom's demeanor changed instantly. Gone was the casual confidence he usually exuded. Instead, a flicker of surprise crossed his face before it settled into an unreadable mask. Tom stammered before regaining composure. "How did you find out?" Jake felt anger bubbling beneath the surface but fought to keep it in check. "She told me last night right before I was going to propose," he said sharply. "You should have been honest with me from the start." Tom leaned back in his chair, visibly taken aback by the revelation. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he said defensively. "It was complicated." "Complicated? You married her." Jake shot back, frustration boiling over as he tried to comprehend how someone he respected could have kept such significant information hidden from him. The tension in the room escalated as they faced off, two men caught in a web of personal and professional loyalties that threatened to tear apart their relationship completely. The implications were staggering. If word got out about their intertwined lives, it could jeopardize both their professional reputations and careers. "Look," Tom said after a moment of silence filled with palpable tension. "I never intended for you to find out like this." "But it doesn't change what happened," Jake interrupted, feeling an overwhelming mix of betrayal and confusion. As they continued their heated exchange, Jake began to realize that this situation could have lasting repercussions on his future at the company. He had worked diligently to build his career under Tom's mentorship. Would this revelation shift how others viewed him? Would it affect any promotions or opportunities? Days turned into weeks as Jake navigated this complex landscape filled with uncertainty, his feelings toward Sarah still raw while simultaneously grappling with how things had changed between himself and Tom. The one solid foundation upon which their professional relationship stood now felt precarious and fragile. At every team meeting or project discussion, Jake could see Tom casting furtive glances in his direction, a silent acknowledgement of their shared secret that now loomed over them both like an unspoken specter. While they continued working together on various projects, there was an unnameable tension that lingered beneath each interaction, a reminder that trust had fractured irreparably between them. Jake buzzed through meetings and conference calls trying to maintain professionalism despite feeling like he was walking on eggshells around Tom, every decision scrutinized through a lens clouded by personal betrayal. As weeks passed without resolution or clarity regarding their dynamic, Jake grappled with one question above all else. Could he continue working under someone who had caused him such emotional turmoil? And more importantly, could he trust Tom again after everything that had unfolded? The tension in Jake's chest had been building for weeks, a pressure cooker of emotions threatening to explode. After the revelation about Sarah's marriage to Tom, he had been navigating a minefield of discomfort at work, and the need for clarity was becoming unbearable. So he made the decision to confront them both together. On a quiet Friday afternoon, Jake requested a meeting with Sarah and Tom. It was a deliberate choice to gather in a small conference room away from prying eyes, where they could speak freely without the distractions of the office environment. As he arrived first, Jake sat at the long table, heart racing as he replayed the words he hoped to express. He needed answers, closure, and perhaps a chance to reclaim some sense of control over his life. When Sarah entered the room, she wore an anxious expression that mirrored his own turmoil. Moments later, Tom walked in, his demeanor professional yet strained, an uncomfortable mask that failed to hide the tension radiating from him. The three of them stood there for a moment in silence, each grappling with the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavy in the air. "Thank you both for coming," Jake began, his voice steady but laced with emotion. "I think we need to talk about everything." Sarah nodded, her eyes darting between Jake and Tom. "I agree," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Tom leaned against the conference table, arms crossed defensively over his chest. "Look, I know this is awkward," he said, glancing at Jake before turning his gaze back to Sarah. "But we need to handle this maturely." Jake felt anger rising within him at Tom's casual tone. "Maturely? You think this is just another business meeting?" He shot back, unable to contain himself any longer. "You married her without telling me. You let me fall in love with her while knowing she was tied to you." Tom's expression hardened at Jake's accusation. "It wasn't that simple. Sarah and I have our own history, a complicated one." "Complicated?" Jake echoed incredulously. "You call keeping your marriage hidden from me complicated? What about my feelings? My trust?" Sarah stepped forward, her voice trembling as she interjected. "Jake, please listen. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought I could leave it behind and start fresh with you. But you didn't leave anything behind." Jake countered. "You kept it all buried while leading me on. I was trying to protect both of you." Sarah exclaimed desperately. "I didn't want to hurt you or jeopardize my marriage. Protect us? Or yourself?" Jake shot back, frustration boiling over. He felt betrayed by both of them. The man he admired and the woman he loved now stood before him as symbols of deceit and heartbreak. "Let's not turn this into a blame game," Tom said sharply. "We all have our roles in this situation." Jake clenched his fists in anger. "My role? I'm the one who was blindsided. I'm the one who planned a future with someone who was already committed to you." "Enough," Sarah cried out, tears shimmering in her eyes as she looked between them. "I never wanted things to end up like this. You both mean so much to me, I can't believe we're here." Jake felt his heart soften slightly at her anguish but quickly steeled himself against it. He couldn't afford sympathy now. "Then why didn't you come clean from the start? Why let it go this far? It's not that easy," Sarah pleaded, her voice breaking as more tears spilled down her cheeks. "Tom and I got married when I was young and naive. I thought it was what I wanted at that time. But then I met you and everything changed." Jake's heart sank even further as he processed her words. The realization that their entire relationship had been built on a foundation of lies shattered any remnants of hope he held onto. Tom shifted uncomfortably beside her. "I never wanted this either," he admitted reluctantly. "But Sarah is right. Our marriage has always been complicated, filled with expectations and pressures that neither of us anticipated." Jake shook his head in disbelief. "So what now? Do we just sweep everything under the rug? Pretend like none of this ever happened? Sarah stepped closer again, reaching for his hand but hesitating before touching him. No. We can't pretend. We need to face it head-on. Suddenly feeling trapped in a whirlwind of emotions, anger toward Tom and heartbreak over Sarah, Jake took a deep breath to steady himself before speaking again. Then what do you want from me? What do either of you want? I want honesty, Sarah replied earnestly, her gaze unwavering as she looked into his eyes. Tom nodded slowly, and understanding passed between them despite the tension still crackling in the air. We need to figure out how to move forward, together or apart, but we can't do that without confronting our issues openly. The weight of those words hung heavily over them as silence enveloped the room once more, a stark reminder that their fragile relationships now lay exposed like raw wounds needing time to heal. With emotions running high and trust shattered among them all, Jake realized this confrontation would lead not just toward resolution but also self-discovery for each of them. A painful but necessary step toward understanding their intertwined lives amidst heartbreak. As they sat there together in that small conference room filled with unresolved tension, their future uncertain, one thing became clear: healing would take time. And honesty would be essential if they were ever going to navigate through the turmoil created by decisions made in haste. In the days following the confrontation, Jake found himself engulfed in a whirlwind of emotions. The turmoil of betrayal, confusion, and heartbreak clung to him like a heavy fog, obscuring his vision of the future. He had thought he knew what he wanted: love, commitment, and a life shared with Sarah, but now those aspirations felt tainted and uncertain. As he navigated this stormy sea of feelings, he realized that what he truly needed was time for self-reflection. Jake took a few days off work, needing space to think beyond the chaos that had consumed him. He spent long hours wandering through the city, finding solace in the simple act of walking. Each step felt like an attempt to ground himself, to find clarity in the midst of confusion. He visited parks where children played, couples laughed, and families enjoyed picnics, a stark contrast to his own turmoil. Watching them brought both comfort and pain. It reminded him of the love he once envisioned with Sarah. In these quiet moments of solitude, Jake began to confront uncomfortable truths about himself and his desires. The betrayal had hurt deeply, not just because Sarah had deceived him, but because it forced him to confront his own expectations of love. What did love truly mean to him? Was it simply about finding someone who made his heart race, or was there something deeper, something rooted in trust and transparency? He recalled memories of their time together, the laughter they shared, the dreams they built during late-night conversations, but those recollections were now shadowed by doubt. Had he been so blinded by infatuation that he overlooked the warning signs? Was he so eager for companionship that he had ignored the importance of honesty? As Jake grappled with these questions, he began writing in a journal, a method he found cathartic during this turbulent time. Each entry allowed him to pour out his thoughts freely, capturing his feelings on paper as if to make sense of the chaos inside. He wrote about his fears and hopes, reflecting on how trust had been broken and what steps he needed to take to rebuild it, first within himself. Through this process, Jake recognized that he needed to redefine what love meant for him. It wasn't enough to find someone who simply filled a void. True love required mutual respect and honesty. He had always valued those qualities in others but realized that he hadn't fully embodied them in his expectations for his relationship with Sarah. Days turned into weeks as Jake continued to reflect on his journey. He started exploring new hobbies that reignited passions long buried beneath layers of routine, painting landscapes that captured his emotions and taking photography walks around the city. Each brushstroke and every snapshot became a form of expression, helping him reclaim parts of himself that had felt lost. In these creative pursuits, Jake discovered more about who he was outside of relationships. He wasn't just defined by his connection with Sarah or even by his job. He was an individual with dreams and aspirations uniquely his own. This realization provided a sense of empowerment amidst all the heartache. It fueled a fire within him to seek authenticity in every aspect of life. After some time spent reflecting on what went wrong with Sarah and Tom's relationship dynamics, Jake also began considering how to navigate future romantic endeavors differently. He knew that if he were ever to open himself up to love again, he would need to prioritize honesty above all else, not just from others but from himself as well. During one particularly reflective evening at home, as dusk settled outside and shadows danced across his walls, Jake felt a wave of determination wash over him. He understood that while healing took time, he could emerge from this experience stronger and more self-aware than before. The pain would not define him. Instead, it would serve as a catalyst for growth. With clarity blooming within him like spring flowers breaking through winter's grip, Jake resolved not only to embrace love again when it arrived but also to ensure it was built upon a foundation of solid values, trust, respect, and vulnerability. He realized that while the end of his relationship with Sarah had left scars on his heart, the lessons learned would ultimately guide him toward healthier connections in the future. As Jake closed his journal one evening after writing about these revelations, he felt lighter, a newfound sense of hope beginning to replace despair. He might have lost one chapter in his life filled with dreams yet unfulfilled, but a new story awaited him just beyond the horizon, a tale brimming with possibility where every page would be written authentically and honestly. In those quiet moments alone at home, with newfound resolve swelling within him, Jake understood that self-discovery was not just about overcoming betrayal, it was about embracing growth amid adversity. A path leading toward authentic love waiting patiently on the other side. As the weeks turned into months, Jake found himself at a crossroads faced with a pivotal decision about how to move forward. The emotional journey he had undertaken after the revelation about Sarah and Tom had transformed him in ways he never anticipated. He had spent countless hours reflecting on love, trust, and his own desires. Now it was time to decide how to reclaim his life. Jake's first instinct had been to confront Tom directly, to make clear that he wouldn't be a pawn in anyone's game, a sentiment that still resonated within him. But as he continued to reflect on the situation, he realized that engaging in a confrontation with Tom would only serve to perpetuate the cycle of bitterness and resentment. Instead of seeking revenge or retribution, Jake wanted to prioritize his own well-being and happiness. One sunny afternoon, Jake decided it was time to have an honest conversation with Sarah. He reached out to her, requesting a meeting at Bella Nate, the very place where everything had begun and ended for them. It felt fitting to return to that space and seek closure amidst the memories that lingered there. When Sarah arrived, she looked both nervous and hopeful, her demeanor a reflection of their shared past. They sat at a table near the window, sunlight streaming in as they exchanged tentative smiles, the air thick with unspoken words. "Thank you for meeting me," Jake started, taking a deep breath as he gathered his thoughts. "I've spent a lot of time reflecting on everything that happened between us." "I have too," Sarah replied softly, her eyes searching his for understanding. "I want you to know that I don't hold any ill will toward you," Jake continued, choosing his words carefully. "What happened was painful for both of us, but I need to move forward without the weight of our past hanging over me." A flicker of hope crossed Sarah's face. "I understand. I never wanted things to end this way. You mean so much to me." Jake nodded, feeling a pang of nostalgia mixed with clarity. "You were an important part of my life, but I've realized that I need to focus on my own happiness now, on building a future that aligns with my values." Sarah's expression turned somber as she listened intently. "I get it. I need to take responsibility for my choices too." The honesty in her voice resonated with Jake. He appreciated her acknowledgement of the impact their relationship had on both their lives. "I think we both deserve the chance to find happiness separately," he said gently. Jake paused for a moment before continuing. "I think it would be best if we didn't keep in touch for a while, so we can each figure out what we want moving forward without complicating things further." He noticed tears forming in Sarah's eyes but remained steady in his resolve. This was not about closing doors, it was about opening new ones that could lead them both toward healing and growth. "Of course," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "I understand." With their conversation shifting toward acceptance rather than blame or anger, they began discussing how they could part ways amicably while respecting the love they once shared. As they spoke openly about their feelings and aspirations for the future, Jake felt a sense of relief wash over him, a recognition that letting go didn't mean erasing memories, it meant honoring them as stepping stones toward personal growth. After they parted ways that day, Jake felt lighter than he had in months, like a burden had been lifted from his shoulders. He had confronted his past directly but also chosen not to remain ensnared by it. In the weeks that followed, Jake focused on what truly mattered, nurturing friendships, exploring hobbies that brought him joy, and investing time in self-care practices that fostered emotional well-being. He started volunteering at local organizations and connecting with people who shared similar passions, an experience that opened up new avenues for friendship and connection beyond romantic relationships. As he moved forward into this new chapter of his life, Jake felt increasingly empowered by the choices he made each day, choices rooted in self-respect and authenticity rather than longing or regret. He embraced the journey of rediscovery wholeheartedly, knowing that each step taken was another brick laid down on the path toward healing. Eventually, as seasons changed outside his window, from vibrant autumn leaves to winter's quiet snow, Jake found himself looking toward the future with optimism again. While love may have been complicated and messy at times, he understood its profound importance in shaping who he was becoming. Through this process of resolution and self-discovery, Jake emerged stronger than before, a man who had faced heartbreak yet refused to let it define him. With newfound clarity guiding him forward into uncharted territory filled with potential, he felt ready for whatever awaited him on the horizon. In those moments of quiet reflection where past pain met present possibility, Jake learned not just about love but also about resilience, that moving forward meant embracing change while cherishing old lessons learned along the way. With hope sparking anew within him like dawn breaking over the horizon, Jake stepped boldly into tomorrow knowing that happiness was not just an elusive dream, it was something he could actively create for himself every day moving forward. The story of Jake, Sarah, and Tom weaves a complex tapestry of themes that resonate deeply within the human experience: love, trust, betrayal, and the intricacies of relationships. At its core, this narrative explores how these themes intertwine, revealing both the beauty and the fragility of connections between individuals. Love is the driving force behind Jake's initial proposal plan. His feelings for Sarah are genuine and profound. He envisions a beautiful future with her, filled with laughter and shared dreams. This idealized view of love represents a longing for deep connection, companionship, and intimacy. However, as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that love is not merely a fairy tale but a multifaceted emotion fraught with challenges and complexities. The theme of trust emerges as a vital pillar in their relationship. Jake believes that his bond with Sarah is built on honesty and mutual understanding. He has opened his heart to her, sharing dreams of commitment and partnership. However, when Sarah reveals her marriage to Tom, his boss, the foundation of trust crumbles beneath them. This betrayal serves as a stark reminder that love alone cannot sustain a relationship. Trust must also be present. The devastating impact of secrets highlights how quickly trust can be shattered and how difficult it is to rebuild once broken. Betrayal is perhaps the most poignant theme woven throughout this narrative. Sarah's decision to hide her marriage from Jake reflects not only her internal struggles but also the broader implications of keeping secrets in relationships. Her desire to protect both herself and Jake ultimately leads to heartbreak for everyone involved. This theme raises questions about loyalty and fidelity in romantic relationships, what it means to be true to oneself while navigating the expectations placed upon us by society or by others. Through Sarah's actions, we see how betrayal often stems from personal conflicts. Her struggle between loyalty to Tom and her growing love for Jake creates a tumultuous inner battle that ultimately results in emotional fallout. The consequences of her choices reverberate through both men's lives, illustrating how one person's decisions can have far-reaching effects on those around them. The complexities of relationships are further emphasized through the dynamics between Jake, Sarah, and Tom. Each character represents different aspects of love and commitment. Jake embodies hope and vulnerability, while Sarah embodies confusion and fear of losing herself amidst conflicting loyalties. Tom stands as a figure representing authority and stability but also complicity in the situation they find themselves in. As Jake grapples with his emotions following the revelation about Sarah's marriage, he embarks on a journey of self-discovery where he learns valuable lessons about what he truly wants from love and life. His evolution reflects the idea that growth often comes from navigating pain and conflict. The story illustrates that relationships are rarely straightforward. They require ongoing communication, understanding, and sometimes painful confrontation to thrive. Ultimately, this narrative invites readers to reflect on their own experiences with love, how it shapes us, challenges us, and at times breaks us apart only to allow for personal growth afterward. It emphasizes that while love can be beautiful, it is also complex. Navigating its intricacies requires honesty with oneself and others. Moreover, the story serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of transparency in relationships. It highlights that keeping secrets may feel like a way to protect loved ones, but often leads to greater harm when the truth inevitably surfaces. The emotional turmoil experienced by each character reminds us that trust must be nurtured through open communication. In conclusion, the overarching themes of love, trust, betrayal, and relationship complexities resonate throughout Jake's story, each thread interwoven into a larger exploration of human connection. The journey undertaken by Jake reveals not only the pain of betrayal but also the possibility for healing through self-reflection and growth. As we navigate our own interactions with others, whether in romantic relationships or friendships, we are reminded that while love holds immense power to uplift us, it also requires vigilance to safeguard against betrayal's insidious grasp. The lessons learned from these characters serve as timeless reminders of what it means to love deeply while remaining true to ourselves amid life's challenges. As Jake's journey through heartbreak, betrayal, and self-discovery comes to a close, it is essential to reflect on the profound lessons that emerge from his experience. His story serves not only as a personal narrative of love lost but also as a cautionary tale about the vital importance of honesty and communication in relationships. At the heart of Jake's ordeal lies the realization that relationships thrive on transparency. The foundation of any romantic partnership should be built on trust, which is nurtured through open dialogue. Sarah's decision to hide her marriage to Tom ultimately shattered the trust between her and Jake, leading him to feel blindsided and betrayed. This situation underscores a crucial lesson: concealing significant truths can lead to devastating consequences. While Sarah may have believed she was protecting both men by keeping her past hidden, the reality was that her silence only served to deepen the wounds when the truth finally surfaced. Honesty is a delicate balance in relationships. It requires vulnerability and courage. For Jake, the pain of discovering Sarah's secret forced him to confront his own beliefs about love and commitment. Instead of viewing love through rose-colored glasses, he learned that it is essential to have difficult conversations even when they might lead to discomfort or conflict. Relationships are not just about sharing joyful moments, they also involve navigating challenges together. By prioritizing honesty, partners can foster a deeper understanding of each other's needs and desires. Communication goes hand in hand with honesty, acting as the bridge that connects partners' hearts and minds. Throughout his journey, Jake's reflections led him to recognize that expressing feelings openly can prevent misunderstandings and resentment from taking root. He realized that many conflicts arise from unspoken expectations or assumptions made by one partner about the other. By maintaining open lines of communication, couples can clarify their intentions and desires, allowing them to work together toward a common goal. The story also highlights the complexities of human emotions, how love can intertwine with fear, guilt, and confusion. Sarah's internal struggle between her loyalty to Tom and her feelings for Jake illustrates how complicated relationships can become when secrets linger beneath the surface. Her experience serves as a reminder that acknowledging one's feelings and being truthful about them can lead to more authentic connections rather than muddied waters filled with anxiety and doubt. Jake's journey ultimately leads him toward personal growth, a transformation that allows him to redefine what he wants from love. He learns that self-reflection is critical for anyone who has faced heartbreak. Understanding oneself can pave the way for healthier future relationships. By taking time to process his emotions and reevaluate his values, Jake emerges from this experience ready to embrace love again, this time with clearer expectations and an unwavering commitment to honesty. Moreover, this narrative encourages readers to consider their own relationships through a lens of accountability. It poses important questions. Are we being honest with ourselves and our partners? Are we willing to have difficult conversations? By fostering an environment where both partners feel safe expressing their thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment or backlash, individuals can cultivate deeper connections based on mutual respect. As Jake steps into this new chapter of his life, he carries with him lessons learned through pain, lessons that will guide him in future endeavors both personally and romantically. His story serves as a powerful reminder that while love may be beautiful, it requires effort and diligence to ensure it remains healthy. In conclusion, Jake's experience encapsulates the critical importance of honesty and communication in relationships. The complexities of love demand vigilance. Partners must actively engage in nurturing their bond through transparent dialogue. As we navigate our own paths toward connection, whether romantic or platonic, it is essential to remember these lessons, embrace honesty, foster communication, and prioritize emotional awareness. In doing so, we can create healthier relationships built on trust and understanding, ones where love flourishes amidst life's inevitable challenges. Ultimately, Jake's journey may have begun with heartbreak but transformed into an empowering narrative of self-discovery, a testament to resilience that encourages us all to seek clarity in our relationships while remaining true to ourselves.